Today we are going over the grotesque murder of 2-year-old James Bulger. His body found abandoned by the train tracks, so mutilated the cops could not comprehend who or what could have done such a terrible act of violence. At the New Strand Shopping Centre in Liverpool on February 12th, 1993, CCTV footage showed Thompson and Venables casually observing children at the Strand Shopping Centre. Thompson and Venables were seen stealing various items from the shops, including sweets, batteries, a troll doll, and a can of blue paint. One of the boys later revealed that they were planning to abduct a child, lead him into a busy road alongside shopping center, and push him into the oncoming traffic. That same afternoon, James Bulger from a nearby Kirkby went with his mother Denise to the New Strand Shopping Center. While inside the A.R. Tim's butcher shop, Denise, James Bulger's mother, had let go of James' hand to pay for her shopping. Once she finished paying the cashier, she looked down to discover her son was missing. Thompson and Venables had approached James Bulger while the mother was paying. They called to him, and James walked outside of the butcher shop towards them. They took him by the hand and led him out of the shopping center. Thompson and Venables took Bulger to the Liverpool Canal, around a quarter mile from the New Strand Shopping Center. The boy joked about pushing Bulger into the canal and even dropped him on his head, making James sustain injuries to his face.
And we went outside to the canal.
What for?
Don't know, he said let's throw him in the water. He was persuading him, he said kneel down and let's look at the water and all that, but he wouldn't. Because when we wouldn't get him down, Robert kicked him up and threw him on the floor, and that's where he got his bump on his head.
The boys took James on a 2.5-mile walk across Liverpool. Thompson and Venables were stopped by bystanders, worried for James's safety because of his injuries and state of emotion. But the boys lied to the bystanders, saying that they were his brother or that James was even lost and they were trying to take him to the police station for his safety.
An eyewitness broke down and wept as she spoke on the radio today.
I've heard people saying, why didn't someone do this and why didn't someone do that? But, you know, now the guilt's there. I don't think I'd ever get this guilt. I seen them. I heard the baby crying and I watched them. Oh God, I watched them. I've got to look out this window every day. I see these kids. I go to bed and I see these kids.
Their story was sufficient enough for the worried bystanders to leave them alone with James. Thompson and Venables then proceeded to take James to the Walton Anfield railway station. One of the boys then grabbed the blue Humbrol modeling paint that they had shoplifted from the shopping center and threw it at James, smashing it into his left eye. They proceeded to kick him, stomp him, throw bricks and also stones at him. They also placed batteries in Bulger's mouth. Finally, the boys dropped a 22-pound railway fish plate on Bulger's head. He sustained 10 skull fractures as a result of the bar striking his head. Thompson and Venables then laid James Bulger across the railway tracks and weighted his head down with rocks in hopes that a train would come and hit him, and his death would appear to be an accident. After they left the scene, his body was cut in half by an oncoming train. Bulger's severed body was discovered by a group of children 2 days later. Pathologist Alan Williams stated that Bulger suffered so many injuries, 42 in total, that none could be identified as the fatal blow. They had no idea how much James had to endure before he met his demise. The two unidentified boys were plastered all across the media in hopes of getting information about the abduction of James. The railway where James had died was flooded with flowers from the public. The breakthrough came when a woman, upon seeing slightly enhanced images of the two boys on national television, recognized Venables and remembered seeing him playing and skipping school with Thompson in the Bootle area that day. She contacted the police and the boys were arrested. The police had believed that this act could have been done by teenagers, but not two 10-year-old boys. Forensic tests confirmed that both boys had the same blue paint on their clothing as found on Bulger's body. The blood on Thompson's shoe was matched to Bulger's through a DNA test. A pattern of bruising on Bulger's right cheek matched the features of the upper part of a shoe worn by Thompson. A paint mark on the toe cap of one of Venables' shoes indicated that he must have used some force when he kicked Bulger. After days of questioning Venables and Thompson, the police had gathered enough evidence to imprison both boys for the murder of James Bulger. When the trial was over, they were both sentenced to a minimum of 8 years in prison. The boys, by then aged 11, were found guilty of Bulger's murder at the Preston Court on 24th of November 1993, becoming the youngest convicted murderers of the 20th century. The judge who saw the case, Mr. Justice Moreland, told Thompson and Venables that they had committed a crime of unparalleled evil and barbarity. In my judgment, your conduct was both cunning and very wicked. In 2001, after a 6-month review, the parole board ruled that the boys were no longer a threat to public safety and could be released. Both men were given new identities and moved to secret locations under a witness protection style program, though on June 21st, 2010, Venables was charged with the possession and distribution of indecent images of children. It was alleged that he had downloaded over 57 indecent images of children over a 12-month period to February 2010, and he had allowed other people to access these files through a peer-to-peer network connection. Venables faced 2 charges under the Protection of the Children Act of 1978 and was sent back to prison. Since Robert Thompson's release in 2001, he has not been back in prison and is believed to be rehabilitated. In the months after the trial, the marriage of Bulger's parents, Ralph and Denise, broke down. They divorced in 1995. Denise remarried Stuart Fergus, with whom she has 2 sons. Ralph, the father of James, also remarried and has 3 daughters by his second wife. James Bulger is a constant reminder to keep your loved ones close, because tomorrow is never promised.